The rain hammered against the tin roof of the naval hangar, each drop like a war drum summoning ghosts from the past. Inside, 100 of America's most hardened warriors, Navy SEALs, stood in absolute silence. They had been called here for one reason: a mission so dangerous, Command had already begun drafting condolence letters. At the front stood Captain Darius Kane, his face carved in stone, his voice carrying the weight of a man who had buried too many soldiers already. On the screen behind him glowed the satellite feed, a hostile compound deep in enemy territory. Hostages inside, anti-air systems active, guard towers bristling with rifles. It was, simply put, a death sentence. Kane turned, his voice cold but steady. "Any combat pilots here?" The question hit the room like a grenade. SEALs shifted on their boots. These were men trained to kill in the sea, on land, under fire, but none of them were pilots. No one moved, until she did. From the back of the room, a lone figure rose. Not tall, not broad, not draped in the bravado the others carried. She moved with quiet certainty. Her name was Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hale, and in the next 12 hours she would carve her name into legend. When Sarah stood, whispers rustled like wind through tall grass. A woman? A logistics officer? What the hell is she doing here? Captain Kane's eyes narrowed, studying her. "You a pilot?" Her voice was calm, soft but sharp enough to cut the silence. "F-18 Super Hornet. 127 combat missions, carrier landings under fire. If you need a pilot, Captain," she paused, "I can fly." The hangar stilled. Even the rain outside seemed to hold its breath. Kane didn't doubt her, not for a second. He had seen courage before, and it didn't always come wrapped in muscle and scars. "Then you're with us," he said. That was all. No applause, no disbelief voiced aloud, just acceptance. And in war, acceptance meant survival. Hours later, the SEALs moved under cover of night. Black water churned as their boats cut silently toward enemy shore. Storm cloaked them, but overhead, like a steel angel, Sarah's bird roared. The cockpit glowed dim green around her. Her hands gripped the controls as naturally as if they were an extension of her own body. But her eyes betrayed the storm inside. She remembered the last time she had flown into combat. 2 years ago. Her wingman's jet had been torn from the sky by a surface-to-air missile. She had watched it spiral into flame, powerless to save him. That night she swore she'd never fly again. And yet here she was. Not because of orders, but because when Kane asked if there were any pilots left who dared, she could not stay seated. On the ground, the SEALs infiltrated the valley. Shadows among shadows, weapons raised. The compound loomed in the distance, lit by floodlights, crawling with guards. Then the ambush came. Gunfire erupted from the ridges. RPGs streaked through the night. The SEALs dove for cover, pinned, trapped in a kill box. Kane barked into his radio, "We're stuck. We need air support now." Static. Then, her voice, calm as a whisper in a storm. "Mark the target." A green flare soared skyward. In the cockpit, Sarah banked hard. G-forces crushed against her chest. Warnings screamed on her HUD. Enemy radar had her locked. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. "Fox 2, she said. The missile roared free. A streak of fire cut through the clouds and slammed into the ridge. The enemy position disappeared in an eruption of flame. On the ground, the SEALs surged forward, alive because of her. Hours of fighting tore through the valley. Step by bloody step, Kane's men pushed into the compound. Doors were blown open, gunfire rattled the night. And then they found them. 27 hostages, weak, malnourished, but alive. Relief was short-lived. Enemy reinforcements were already converging. Too many, too fast. The extraction boats were compromised. Kane's voice cracked across comms. "We have the hostages, but no way out." Sarah's reply came steady, though her heart pounded. "I'll make you a way out." Her jet screamed lower, skimming treetops. Tracer rounds lit up the sky, chasing her like fiery serpents. One missile exploded too close, rocking her cockpit. Warning alarms shrieked. The ghost of her fallen wingman flashed in her mind. But she pushed through. She angled her nose down, dove into the firestorm, and unleashed hell. Her GAU-8 cannon thundered, tearing through enemy armor like paper. Buildings collapsed under the fury. Roadblocks vanished in flame. On the ground, Kane and his men saw the sky open. A corridor carved through chaos. "Move," Kane roared. SEALs dragged hostages, sprinting through fire and dust, guided by the angel above. But the enemy wasn't done. A mobile SAM system rolled into the valley, locking onto Sarah's jet. Kane saw it. "Sarah, break off! You won't make it." But she didn't answer. Instead, she pulled her jet around, afterburners howling, diving straight at the SAM launcher. Inside the cockpit, sweat stung her eyes. Her grip tightened. She wasn't flying to live anymore. She was flying to make sure they lived. She lined up her shot. Fox 3. The missile streaked down, slamming into the launcher. The explosion ripped the valley apart. Her jet skimmed through the fireball, metal groaning, alarm screaming. She pulled hard, the horizon spinning, the sky and earth twisting into one blur. And somehow, she leveled out. Alive. By dawn, the hostages were safe. The SEALs had survived. And Sarah, scorched, bloodied, exhausted, climbed from her jet. Her boots hit the deck with the weight of someone who had carried ghosts and come back alive. The men who had doubted her now stood silent, not with skepticism, but with respect. Kane approached, no salute, no ceremony, just 4 words. "You saved us all." Sarah only shook her head. "No," she said softly, "we saved each other." That night the base was quiet, no speeches, no medals, just tired soldiers breathing the air of the living. But in the silence, a truth remained. When Captain Kane asked any combat pilots here, one voice had risen, not loud, not proud, just steady. And that voice changed everything. Heroes don't always shout. Sometimes they whisper. Sometimes they rise quietly to their feet and remind the world what courage looks like.